The decision to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki has been second-guessed around the world for 50 years. This program examined those events and the decision from a contemporary perspective.
The real debate in the summer of 1945 was not whether an invasion would be a tragedy. It would have been. But there was no plan to invade for another several months. The real question was how to end the war without that bloody fight to the finish. There was a military option. There was a diplomatic one. And there was the bomb.
Truman and Stimson and Burns and the others were fully conscious of those alternatives. One was to wait for the Soviets to come into the war. One was to modify unconditional surrender. Another alternative was to use the atomic bomb.
The bomb had its strong advocates, many of the members of the secret interim committee. The official history points to these men as the ones who carefully considered whether the bomb was necessary. But the evidence shows that the central question of using the bomb was raised only by accident. The idea of demonstrating the bomb was vetoed. The idea of warning the Japanese was dismissed. At the time, did Colonel Stimson have any doubts about
Not about using it, no. Using it against the city, if you'd pushed him, he would have said, well, we fought that battle, we lost it.
The next day, James Burns moved to settle the question that had been raised by accident and pushed for a formal vote.
The present view of the committee was that the bomb should be used against Japan as soon as possible, that it should be used on a war plant surrounded by workers' homes, and that it should be used without prior warning.
Here to accept, Executive Producer Sherry Jones and Mr. Peter Jennings.
There's nothing quite so gratifying for a reporter, and in my job I am occasionally allowed to work as a reporter, than to take a really hard look at history and realize that it is either wrong or, in the case of the decision to drop the bomb, that the conventional wisdom that we've held true for so long was incomplete. Having done that, producers step on to shifting sands, particularly having to do with public opinion. This was an exhilarating ride through the corridors of public opinion, to say the least. For me, as the reporter, it was, however, always with the absolute certainty that I was working for two of the smartest, most diligent, most honest women in the country, certainly in our profession, Elizabeth Sams and my producer, Sherry Jones.
It's impossible to adequately describe the honor of being a part of the Peabody tradition, an honor that has a special resonance for those of us who worked on the Hiroshima film. Almost 50 years ago, just about a year after the bombs were dropped, the New Yorker magazine ran an extraordinary article. It gave over its entire issue to an article by John Hersey titled simply Hiroshima. That article stunned a lot of people who had not really given much thought to what had in fact happened when the bombs were dropped on Japan. ABC Radio then canceled its commercial broadcast and ran the text of Hersey's article in a special series, for which 50 years ago it won a Peabody. Now, 50 years later, I'd like to express my gratitude to Peter Jennings, Paul Friedman, and ABC News for its unwavering commitment to tell the history of the decision to drop the bomb and to tell that history whole with all of its troubling questions. I'd like to thank Marty Smith, who's a friend, a terrific senior producer, and a terrific supporter, and my longtime valued colleagues, Foster Wiley, whose talent for storytelling I'm still trying to learn after more than 15 years of our collaborations, and Elizabeth Sams, whose intelligence, integrity, friendship, and laughter can make even the most daunting days in this process seem almost a pleasure. We're all deeply honored. Thank you.